China's megabridges stand out as monuments to human ambition, structures so massive and innovative that when international leaders see them, their reactions range from stunned silence to open amazement. Even presidents and prime ministers who rarely praise competing nations have publicly marveled at what China has accomplished. But what makes these bridges so exceptional that they command this level of attention? Why are they generating worldwide fascination among engineers, economists, and ordinary people alike? What you're about to discover will fundamentally change how you think about infrastructure and what's achievable when engineering ambition meets national determination. These aren't just bridges, they're declarations of capability, testaments to what becomes possible when a nation commits resources and expertise to solving problems that others deemed unsolvable. Let's examine 8 structures that have pushed the absolute boundaries of what civil engineering can accomplish. Starting at number 8, we encounter what locals call the highway to heaven, and the name isn't hyperbole. Imagine constructing a highway that climbs 2,600 meters into mountain clouds, ascending through terrain so hostile that most nations would consider it completely unbuildable. The Yaqi Highway extends for 240 kilometers through colossal mountain ranges, across mighty rivers, through impossibly steep terrain, ascending from 600 meters to 3,200 meters above sea level. That represents an average elevation gain of more than 7 meters for every single kilometer traveled. Think about that gradient for a moment. It's like building a highway up the side of a vertical wall. Constructed between 2007 and 2012 at a cost exceeding $3 billion, this mega highway required countless specialized structures, dozens of bridges, tunnels carved through solid rock, and viaducts that literally reshape the mountains themselves. But the crown jewel of this impossible route is the Ganghisi Bridge, an 1,800-meter structure located at 2,500 meters altitude that resembles a giant roller coaster suspended in the sky. It's the world's first interlaced reinforced concrete beam bridge, utilizing engineering techniques that didn't exist before this project demanded their invention. As if that weren't sufficiently impressive, the same highway features the Baluoqiang Bridge, recognized as one of the world's highest bridges at 565 meters from its deck to the valley floor below. To put that in perspective, it's equivalent to constructing a skyscraper and laying it horizontally across a chasm. This highway stands as definitive proof that when Chinese engineers commit to connecting 2 points, absolutely no geographic obstacle, mountains, valleys, or abysses, will prevent them from achieving that goal. They quite literally constructed a pathway to the heavens. Number 7 brings us to what engineers call the endless bridge, and the statistics alone are staggering. $20 billion invested over nearly a decade for a single infrastructure project. The Hong Kong-Zhuhai Macau Bridge spans 55 kilometers, connecting 3 separate regions through an integrated system of bridges and underwater tunnels. This titanic undertaking required nearly a decade from groundbreaking in 2009 to completion in 2018, consuming $20 billion and making it one of the most expensive infrastructure projects in Chinese history. But examine what those resources purchased. Travel time between Hong Kong and Macau plummeted from 3 hours to just 30 minutes. Entire economic regions suddenly became interconnected in ways that transform commerce, tourism, and daily life. Yet the true brilliance lies in the design philosophy. The structure divides into 3 distinct sections: a main bridge spanning open ocean, an underwater tunnel section, and connecting bridge approaches. Why such complexity? Because Chinese engineers anticipated everything nature could throw at this structure: typhoons with devastating winds, tsunamis, earthquakes, even direct impacts from ships weighing up to 300,000 tons. This bridge isn't merely an engineering accomplishment, it's a declaration of capability. China demonstrated it can connect what others considered fundamentally unconnectable, creating a highway across the sea that withstands nature's most destructive forces while remaining fully operational year-round. At number 6, we find the Celestial Bridge, and its nickname perfectly captures why it's so remarkable. Constructing a bridge that literally disappears into clouds wasn't just a technical challenge. For most of engineering history, it was considered flatly impossible. Located in Guizhou Province, this masterpiece spans more than 2,100 meters across a profound valley. Built between 2016 and 2019, the bridge features 3 enormous towers, the tallest reaching 330 meters, 30 meters taller than the Eiffel Tower. The multitude of stay cables radiating from these towers creates a visual spectacle extending to the horizon, an almost harp-like appearance when sunlight catches the cables. But here's the fascinating detail that gave this bridge its name. Due to its extraordinary elevation, clouds frequently engulf the structure entirely, creating the surreal illusion that the bridge simply vanishes into the sky. Drivers approaching from either direction often see the bridge extending into dense cloud cover, making it appear as though you're literally driving toward heaven itself. At a construction cost of $215 million, this investment has completely transformed the regional economy. Traffic efficiency improved dramatically, poverty rates in neighboring provinces declined considerably, and previously isolated communities suddenly gained access to larger economic networks. Can you imagine the experience of driving onto a bridge that disappears into white clouds ahead of you, where visibility drops to nearly zero and you're suspended hundreds of meters above the valley floor? It's simultaneously terrifying and magnificent. Number 5 introduces us to the levitating bridge, and the engineering here seems to defy physics. Supported by a single 150-meter tower and floating 300 meters above a mountainous abyss, the Liuchong Bridge in Yunnan Province appears to levitate over the chasm below. This colossus of steel and concrete stretches almost 800 meters while suspended more than 300 meters above a vertiginous cliff. How do engineers create this levitation effect? The answer lies in ingenious structural design. An enormous 150-meter tower anchors the entire roadway through steel cables, with only 2 additional support points at the valley's extremes. The visual result is a roadway that appears to float in midair, unsupported by anything beneath it. Built between 2019 and 2022, this bridge literally penetrates through the mountain itself using tunnels, creating a connection that drastically reduces travel time throughout the region. With 2 lanes accommodating 4 traffic streams, it's become a vital artery for local commerce and transportation. But here's the critical warning. This engineering marvel is absolutely not suitable for anyone with height-related anxieties. Driving across it requires considerable mental fortitude, or at minimum, the discipline to resist looking down into the void below. Would you have the courage to drive on a roadway that appears to float in empty air? Chinese engineers demonstrated that when communities need connecting, no natural obstacle remains insurmountable. At number 4, we encounter the confusing bridge, and the nickname is entirely appropriate. An interchange featuring 5 separate levels and 20 different route options sounds like a traffic engineer's fever dream. The Huangjuewen interchange, nicknamed the Confusing Bridge, ranks as the most complex overpass structure you'll ever witness. Located in Chongqing, this monstrous engineering accomplishment required 8 years of construction from 2009 to 2017. Why such an extended timeline? Because the final structure reaches a colossal 37 meters in height, incorporates 5 distinct levels, offers 20 different route configurations, and accommodates 3 major highways intersecting through a single point. At a construction cost of $230 million, thousands of vehicles navigate daily through this labyrinthine 3-dimensional puzzle. But here's what's remarkable. Despite its overwhelming apparent complexity, transportation authorities insist that navigation through this interchange is actually quite straightforward, provided of course that you can read Chinese signage. Otherwise, you might spend considerable time circling through levels trying to find your intended exit. It's essentially a giant 3-dimensional road puzzle where each piece represents a different traffic stream. Imagine attempting to use GPS navigation here. The system would likely experience computational confusion trying to calculate routes through vertical space. The Chinese transformed what could have been a conventional highway intersection into something resembling modern abstract sculpture that challenges conventional engineering logic. Number 3 takes us to the Desert Bridge, where vegetation becomes infrastructure. 13 million plants deployed as a defensive shield against the planet's most devastating sandstorms. Here, Chinese engineers built something many international experts considered fundamentally impossible: a railway bridge system that successfully defies constant desert sandstorms. The Desert Bridge forms part of the Hotan Railway, a monumental project incorporating 5 elevated bridge sections supported by 434 prefabricated pillars, covering almost 50 kilometers of previously impassable desert geography. But engineers didn't stop with the bridge structure itself. To combat the devastating sandstorms that threatened to bury the tracks beneath drifting sand, They planted 13 million individual plants surrounding the structure, creating a living natural barrier against the elements. It's as though they transformed hostile desert into a railway garden, using biological systems to solve an engineering problem. Construction began in 2018, and the complete 825-kilometer route opened in 2022, forming part of a circular railway of more than 2,700 kilometers that completely encircles the desert, allowing trains to travel at speeds reaching 120 kilometers per hour. Can you imagine witnessing a high-speed train emerging like a mirage through shimmering desert heat? The Chinese made this vision reality, successfully defying one of Earth's most hostile environments through a combination of structural engineering and ecological strategy. Number 2 introduces the Dragon Bridge, where form meets extraordinary function. A 3-story highway that winds across a mountain following the shape of a mythical dragon. Located on Tianmen Mountain, this spectacular 3-level highway climbs 350 meters of elevation using 7,000 tons of structural steel and thousands of tons of specialized cement. But here's what's truly astonishing. How long do you imagine such a complex project required? Chinese construction crews completed this architectural marvel in just 1 year. They broke ground in March 2018 and inaugurated the completed structure in May 2019. To put that timeline in perspective, many cities require longer periods just to repair damaged road surfaces than China needed to construct a 3-story bridge winding up an entire mountain. The design isn't arbitrary. Engineers deliberately configured it to follow the shape of a giant dragon reclining on the mountainside, connecting lowland regions with high-altitude mountainous areas. This approach proved far more economical than the alternative of drilling tunnels through the entire mountain range. Can you imagine the driving experience on this structure? It's literally like navigating along the spine of a massive steel dragon, with each level offering different perspectives of the surrounding landscape. And finally, at number 1, we reach the Ferris wheel bridge. Because apparently, conventional bridges aren't ambitious enough. Combining a functional traffic bridge with a giant 120-meter Ferris wheel seemed like an absurd concept until it appeared in Tianjin. Here we find something completely unique globally, a bridge that simultaneously functions as the foundation for a massive observation wheel. The structure isn't renowned for conventional bridge architecture, but for supporting the Tianjin Eye, an imposing 120-meter Ferris wheel that transports up to 768 passengers hourly in its 48 cabins, completing one full rotation every 30 minutes. But here's the captivating detail. Visitors enjoy panoramic views from the observation wheel while directly below them. Traffic flows normally across the bridge deck. It's infrastructure multitasking at an extraordinary level. Construction of the bridge began and completed in 2007, though the Ferris wheel didn't open until 2008. Why the delay? Because engineers conducted exhaustive safety testing to ensure the massive wheel remained permanently secured. Each evening, the structure transforms into an illuminated spectacle with neon displays reflecting in the high river below, creating magical imagery that attracts tourists and locals alike. It represents perfect fusion between practical infrastructure and urban entertainment. Who else but China would conceive of combining a transportation bridge with a giant observation wheel? We've journeyed through 8 engineering marvels demonstrating why China has established itself as the undisputed global leader in infrastructure development. From bridges that appear toy-like in their delicate suspension to highways that literally touch the clouds, each structure challenges what we believed achievable in civil engineering. These aren't just bridges. They're proof that with sufficient determination, technical expertise, and resources, humanity can reshape geography itself to serve our needs. The age of impossible infrastructure is over. We've entered an era where the only limitations are imagination and commitment.